I'm glad you've joined us on the interview. You may not realize it yet, but your life is about to change. Thank you for joining us on the interview. I'm Dr. Rick Wadge, and I'm here for a second show with a dear friend of ITBN, and that is Avi Lipkin. Hello, Avi.
Good to be back. Second time.
I enjoyed our first show together. Let's continue a conversation. You've got different things on the table. Maybe we want to start with that.
Absolutely. The first thing, which I think is very important, I've been speaking about Islam as a threat to Judeo-Christian Western civilization and democracy. Islam wants to replace Judeo-Christian Western civilization. It wants to replace the Judeo-Christian Bible with the Quran. Their Messiah is coming back to kill the Jews on Saturday and the Christians on Sunday. That's not exactly what we as Judeo-Christians believe in.
How would that make any sense, by the way? How would that better things?
The devil is a great deceiver. And unfortunately, a lot of people in this world are deceived. And one of them, I love the Muslims as human beings, but I think their system is wrong. There's another system I also think is wrong. It's called the globalists, those who believe that mammon or money is the Lord. And this is the one world government of the globalists. And my message is primarily to the Christians. Now, what my son is doing, Aaron, he has come out with 3 DVDs. And my son Aaron has a company called Lipkin Tours, and what he has discovered not as a tour guide, but as the CEO of a tour company, but he has also done a lot of guiding, is that the places that appear in the Bible are not fairy tale places. These places really existed and are now being uncovered archaeologically, therefore proving the veracity of the Bible.
Yes.
And so what I'm trying to do with my son is to defeat Islam and defeat globalism, money God, and say, no, there is one God. It's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Absolutely.
And his word, the Bible, is true. And because many people, including even our Prime Minister, Yitzhak Rabin, said that the Bible is fairy tales. And what's happening now, that was because he was a socialist. Socialists don't believe in God. They believe in socialism. Capitalists believe in money. Both are wrong. We believe in God, Jews and Christians who believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yes.
And my purpose is to strengthen the faith of Jews in the synagogue and Christians in the church. Doesn't matter what denomination. The important thing is that people see the scientific proofs of the existence of God through these tourism sites, they will have their faith strengthened. And this is like a travel log. I mean, it's enjoyable. You watch it, you see things. My son has this drone and he takes pictures from way above, things you cannot see with the eye. You have to be up in the sky to see them. And so these are very good. One of them talks about giant footprints in the Jordan River Valley and the Tirza Valley. These were preliminary temples before Jerusalem, before Shiloh, even before the Joshua altar on Mount Ebal. My son's 4th DVD will be Mount Ebal, about Joshua's altar, how they discovered it. And so this is cutting edge technology. That's the footprints.
And you're leaving us hanging. You're not, it's like, the old shows where, the person's on the railroad tracks, but you don't know what happens until the next week. So you're leaving us hanging.
I'm going to leave you hanging on another place. This is Shiloh. And, I'm a stamp collector, and I remember stamps from 1962. I was born in 49, so I was 13 at the time. Battle of Shiloh, Civil War, Battle of Shiloh in Tennessee. And my Hebrew teacher said, no, the Shiloh comes from the Bible. I said, where is it? We don't know, because it's under the ground. It was destroyed in an earthquake. So after the 6-Day War in 67, 5 years later, the Israelis went looking for it, and they went to this Christian Arab village called Kafr Sila. Kafr Sila means village of Shiloh. And they asked the Christians, where's the original Shiloh? Oh, it's down there in the valley. So the archaeologists came, they found 4 churches, why do you have 4 churches in a certain area? Because it's an important place. And they dug down 6 feet and they found a mosaic, a Greek mosaic that said, "May the Lord Jesus have mercy on the people of Shiloh." So we knew that was Shiloh. So meanwhile, they're uncovering a whole mountain now, and it's a tell. Tell means it's a multi-civilizational mountain. But if Shiloh existed, then Samuel existed. If Samuel existed, he anointed Saul and David. There are people today, they're crazy. They say David never existed, King David, King Saul. Or King Solomon. There's no archaeological proof. Okay. Bethel is actually the first DVD my son made. And this one talks about the dream of the ladder. We show you, when you come to Israel on the tour, we show you the stone that was the pillar. It was the pillow of Jacob.
Yaakov, yeah.
We show you where Abraham was promised the land by God. We show you things there that are archaeologically now being uncovered, including Muslim and Christian holy place there. So why are the Muslims there? Why are the Christians there? Why are the Jews there? What's so important about Bethel?
Now, I can tell you, Avi, that in the 2 tours I did in Israel, we never saw those places.
Yes, my son's slogan is, "We take you off the beaten path. We take you to places nobody else takes you." So Lipkin Tours, and we are exploding with tours coming in. We have tours coming in from China and Russia and India and Latin America, and of course my churches. Like 1,000 of them in the U.S. So we have a lot of work on.
Now, what about places like Machpelah and some of those?
We go to Machpelah. Also, Machpelah is a very interesting place because, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are buried there. Sarah, Rebecca, and Leah. And a very important political point, because, everything I do is political.
I've noticed.
Yes. And what happened was, you've heard of the United Nations, you've heard of UNESCO, and all of a sudden they say that Machpelah, the tomb of the patriarchs, is a Muslim holy place. Not Christian, not Jewish.
Now, that was fairly recent.
Yes, it's recent.
Yes.
And so, I'm going to do a little Bible teaching with your permission here, but it's all part of what's going on in Israel now. I'm a liberal. In other words, I would be willing to consider that Machpelah was a Muslim place if Ishmael were buried there next to Isaac, if Esau was buried next to Jacob, and if Hagar were buried next to Sarah. And I say in the churches, does anyone know where they're buried? Nobody raises their hand. I say, you know why you don't know? Because they weren't buried. They were eaten by the vultures. Let me explain. Ishmael, we know from our Holy Bible, Jew and Christian agree with this, Ishmael is a wild donkey. His hand will be against all his brethren's hands, and all his brethren's hands will be against his hand, and he will dwell in the face of his brethren. In Genesis 25, it says he died in the face of his brethren. He who lives by the sword dies by the sword. That's where Jesus got it from. Okay, I believe. I take certain liberties, A
little bit.
And when you remember the story of Jacob coming back from Padan Aram with his 4 wives and 12 children, or 13 children, they didn't count the girl, Dinah, and he has all these flocks, and then he hears from the emissaries that Esau is coming to meet him with 400 men. Now, how do we know who the 400 men are? Ishmael has 12 sons. They're mentioned in the Bible. Women are not mentioned except for one, the one that Esau marries. I think he had 12 daughters too. Okay, so 12 boys, 12 girls. The 12 boys and the 12 girls get married and have 12 boys and 12 girls each. That's how you get the 400 men. Now, in these desert battles, you can win 1 war, 2 wars, 99 wars. You lose the 100th war, you're eaten by the vultures because nobody's going to bury you. So therefore, the tomb of the patriarchs and the matriarchs in Hebron is a Judeo-Christian place. It is not a Muslim place. It's a Judeo-Christian, and it's very important that all the Christians in the world know this. This is why my son's DVDs should be in every church of every denomination in Christianity. These DVDs should be in every synagogue. And we should eventually conquer the UN. I actually am suggesting we create a Judeo-Christian UN in Jerusalem. That's part of one of the principles of my party. But at this point, the UN represents 200 nations very faithfully, and the majority of the human race today is pagan, Hindu, Buddhist, and Muslim, and communist. So Christians are only 2 billion out of 6 or 7 billion. We have our work cut out for us. And I support Christian missionaries all over the world, except in Israel to the Jews. They could be to the Muslims in Israel, but not to the Jews. Okay. That's like stealing candy from children. The Jews are the roots, Christians are the branches, and the branches should never try to overtake the roots.
Amen.
Because that destroys the tree.
Absolutely.
If we're allies, we march together.
That's right.
So anyway, and we are allies.
Yes, we are.
So that is the story of my son's DVDs. He's going to do a fourth DVD now on the altar of Joshua on Mount Ebal, where you had the blessings and the curses. We found it. We're going to do Machpelah. We're going to do Jerusalem. So my son eventually is going to have a library of DVDs.
I love it.
Each one is a travelogue in Israel. And so, for those people, and I understand it, some people can't afford to go to Israel. They'll have the DVDs,
Yes.
and they'll give them the whole story of Israel. Now, I have a 2 DVD set. One is about the Trump revolution, and this talks about why Trump won. And it's not because of Russia. So I give an hour here why Trump won. And like I said, it's not Russia. There are many reasons for it. And I hope I don't offend anyone watching this show, but I cried from happiness when Trump was elected. And living in Israel, I never voted in American elections. I thought it wasn't ethical. But when Trump was running, I said, I have to vote. And I and another 100,000 Israelis voted for Trump. Now, we have another DVD, which looks like this, but has blue letters. I couldn't find it in the car. We were in a rush to start taping. And it says Israel's Bible Block Party. And that's the up-to-date DVD I did in the last few months. This book is about the Bible Block Party, but it is from 2006. And I also have a CD that Chuck Missler produced, and that's also Israel's Bible Block. They're all available on my website. And
Which is?
my website is Avi Lipkin, AVILIPKIN.net. And people can order these, and people can write to me. Sometimes there's a glitch in the website bookstore. People can write, and then my secretary sends them whatever they need. We're fine. We're doing good. And I think with the short time we have left, I want to give a few minutes on the party. Israel, and I explained this very, very well in my book and in my CD and DVD. Israel is a new country. We were talking before about the Crusades. Crusades are 1,000 years ago. We're talking about the creation of America, 1620, Plymouth Rock. Israel's a country that was just reborn, 70 years ago. And, people don't understand that in 1867, when Mark Twain visited the Holy Land, there was almost nothing.
Exactly, right.
He would walk 2 days, he wouldn't see anyone. The land was empty. It was forlorn. It was desolate. Swamps, malarial swamps, poverty. It was horrible. And God says in Isaiah that the land of Israel will only flower and prosper when the Jews come home, which is what's been happening in the last 100, 150 years.
They say the land was waiting on them.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Nobody else can make the land blossom. And, I'm not a socialist and I'm not a communist. The contrary, I'm very anti-socialist and very anti-communist. But I have to take my hat off to the socialists and communists who rolled up their sleeves, left Russia, left Eastern Europe, and drained the swamps. Many of them died, from malaria and all these other diseases. Israel was not a nice place to be in 100, 150 years ago. But what happened was, after 1948, we have all of a sudden 2 million Jews joining the 500,000 that were there, and 1 million were from the concentration camps, and they were not socialists. 1 million were from the Islamic and Arab world, which includes my wife. They were not socialists or communists. And the political process in 1977 switched away from communist socialist parties to right-wing nationalist parties. And that's kind of what we've been seeing since 1977. That's 40 years. The Christian population of Israel was 2% always. Actually, it was a little more, and it shrank because the Arab Christians left the land. The Arab Christians have been leaving the Middle East a long time because of Muslim persecution and war and everything. In 1989, 1990, we had an influx from the former Soviet Union of 1 million people. 30%, 300,000, are not Jewish. You can call them Christian, you can call them non-Jewish. Some are 50%, some are 75 or 25%. But to make a long story short, according to the rabbinate in Israel, they're not Jewish. So the non-Jewish Judeo-Christian population has grown from 2% Arab Christian to 8%. 8%.
In that short period of time.
Yeah. Israel is a country of miracles. A lot of things happen to Israel that could not happen in any other country. So today, the Christian or quasi-Christian population of Israel is 8%. Jews who are recognized as Jews married to Christians are 6%. So today, my constituency is 14% potential. But what I'm saying is, I'm predicting with the influx of tens of millions of Muslims into the United States, Canada, and Europe, you're going to see at some stage major massacres of Jews and their Christian spouses, even in America. And the Muslims have promised, the Muslim terrorists have promised that they are going to carry out terrorist attacks on America, which will make 9/11 pale in comparison. And so I'm predicting that your media won't talk about any of these things. So your media is basically covering up a major calamity which is about to happen in this country.
Do you think it's because they don't want to spread fear? Or
Also.
Or they're in denial of what's really going on?
It's both. And there's a lot of financial interest here involved. Because a lot of the revenues for advertising come from the Muslims, and those globalists who until now are aligned with the Muslims. And so at some stage, we will be seeing, I believe, a mass exodus of Jews from America, Canada, and Europe to Israel. We already see Jews leaving England and France.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
For example, why would the globalists align themselves with the Muslims?
One word, money.
Okay.
Money.
Oil.
Or money, oil. I have a testimony, which I think I shared in the past, that you heard about Dallas Council on World Affairs, which is the CFR in Dallas. And they said to me, the only thing that made America great is the barrel of oil. Steady price of oil, steady supply of oil. So as long as the Muslims keep pumping the oil and then reinvesting their revenues back into the American economy,
good with it.
it's the global system.
Okay.
One of the things I'm sharing, though, and we're going to conclude the message in about 10 minutes, and I'm going to show you that the ISIS people are so crazy that they're going to blow up the oil, which goes in the Persian Gulf, which goes against the one world government. They're going to carry out massive attacks, which will make 9/11 pale in comparison. And millions of people will die, which is not good for the one world government economy. Mm-hmm. You know, the upsetting aspect, upsetting the apple cart.
Stocks go crazy.
Everything goes crazy. And the one world government says, we are going to ban Islam. And
because they want a stabilized money-making system.
They said, we knew they were crazy, but now they're really crazy. We can't tolerate it anymore. And that's when the one world government is going to say to the Jews, we're going to ban Islam, you Jews build your temple, and we will send our top leader to your temple in Jerusalem.
Now, why would they all of a sudden be for the Jewish people? Why?
It's not that they're for the Jewish people. They're against Islam for destroying the world economy. And they need Israel to occupy Mecca, Medina, and Mount Sinai. And Jim and Penny Cole have proven that Mount Sinai is in the northwest of Saudi Arabia.
Got it.
And the one world government people, they take the east Persian Gulf area of Saudi. You have to remember also that a possible war between Iran and Saudi could bring about a total halt of oil supplies in the Persian Gulf.
Right.
Which would be a catastrophe for the one world government.
Right.
That's why one of the things I've been saying, it's not on the show today, Korea is going to be liberated from Kim Jong-un. And I don't think it's the American Navy that's going to do it. I think it's going to be the Chinese and the Russians. Trump is going to cut a deal with them. And he's going to say to them, you keep North Korea, do whatever you want with it. Just get rid of this crazy guy. Restore order. Same with Iran.
That could happen fairly quickly, actually.
Yes, all of this could happen before this program shows. This is prophecy.
That's a true story.
But I love Trump. He is full of surprises. And so I think also Iran has to be dealt with because Iran is Saudi until now is playing ball with the West. If ISIS takes over, then neither Iran nor Saudi are going to cooperate with the West. The oil is going to stop flowing. The money is going to be pulled out of the economy. Globalists don't like that.
Is there a connection between North Korea and Iran?
Absolutely. Between North Korea and Iran and Syria also. I have to tell you a little story. Your viewers are going to be very shocked, very blessed by what I'm going to say now. There was a major train explosion in North Korea in 2004. And nobody took credit for it. Nobody spoke about it. The Israeli intelligence was reading the newspapers from Damascus. the day after, a few days after, was full of obituaries of senior Syrian officers who died in the train explosion in North Korea. Because those were missiles, missile fuel, missile parts, maybe nuclear. And this is on its way to Syria. And it got blown up, So the Iranians get $150 billion from Obama. They use that money to pay North Korea for the nuclear projects, nuclear missiles, nuclear warheads. The Iranians don't have to do anything, just get everything from North Korea. That's why North Korea has to be taken out. Not taken out, the leadership has to be removed,
Yes.
and the nuclear project has to be frozen, and feed the people, for heaven's sakes.
Yes.
In other words, the North Korean economy is based on exports of deadly weapons to kill everybody. The Syrians had also Deir ez-Zor in the northeast, which was a nuclear reactor built by the North Koreans. So, today, officially, we still don't know, was it the Israeli Air Force or the American Air Force that did it?
I was afraid to ask
Yeah.
what you thought.
You have to have a great sense of humor when you're thinking about who's doing what in the Middle East.
And I want to say this real quick, and that is, the Israelis are peaceful people.
We just want to be left alone.
Exactly.
But our borders are going to go to Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, maybe the Egyptian peninsula of Sinai. And you know what? You know what the worst enemy of Israeli expansionism is? The Jewish mother.
Why is that?
Because the Jewish mother wants, they say this in Florida, a golf cart's trip away. She wants the children close.
And right now, no problem.
And we do not want to expand into other countries. We really don't. But like I said before, the Druze in Syria are about to be annihilated, by the ISIS people. And the Druze in Israel are saying to Netanyahu, let's take that mountain, which is about 20, 30 miles away, which means basically that Israel has to invade Syria. That's why the Russians came in 2 years ago. But the Russians are going to pull out soon. It's all part of the deal. A lot of deals going on here. But the Jews are going to be slaughtered if Israel doesn't protect them.
When you say deal, I interpret that as meaning it's a prophetic move.
No, I'm talking about business. I'm talking about Trump, the art of the deal. Trump has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. And it's also prophetic, maybe. Now, when Israel goes into southeastern Syria, the Christians in Damascus, there are 2 million Christians in Syria, and they're going to say to Israel, oh, you're protecting the Jews, what about us? ISIS is going to kill us too. So they're just going to go in all the way to the Euphrates. Who's going to be on the other side of the Euphrates? The Kurds with their new state. I think something's cooking. I think the whole map of the Middle East is going to change very soon. And I think Turkey is going to implode because Turkey is 44% Turkish, 31% Shiite, 25% Kurds. The Kurds want to break away, join Kurdistan. The Kurds in Iran want to join Kurdistan. The Kurds in Iraq have their own country. And the Kurds in Syria want to join Kurdistan. Kurdistan is a country potentially of 60 million people. They don't have a state. The Palestinians have 4 states. They have Gaza, the West Bank, Jordan, and Israel. They got 4 countries that they are free and active to work in. Anyway, so getting back to, so I have to tell you a joke. So what's the difference between a Polish Jewish mother and a Doberman Pinscher?
I don't know. What's the difference?
The Doberman Pinscher eventually lets go. So the Polish Jewish mother, and my mom was a Polish Jewish mother. They want their kids close to home. They don't want them in Saudi. They don't want them in Jordan. They don't want them in Lebanon. They don't want them in Syria. They want them close to home. Israel as a country just wants to be left alone. But God does not ask us what we want. God has a plan. And the borders that we see in the Bible are from Lebanon to Saudi Arabia. The Saudis know it. And from the river of Egypt to the Euphrates. Now, the river of Egypt, some people interpret to mean a wadi somewhere in the middle of Sinai. Some people say it's the Nile. In Ezekiel 28, 29, there's a story about Egypt will become a desolation. And for 40 years, no human or animal will tread in Egypt, which is the Nile Valley.
How do you interpret that?
Well, they say from Aswan to the Mediterranean. And the Iranians have said to the Egyptians, if you support the Sunnis against us, we will send a missile and destroy the Aswan Dam. And the Iranians could do it because they're the North Koreans.
Catastrophic.
And that would unleash a tsunami of water. It doesn't say in the Bible that the Egyptians will die. It says they will be scattered to the 4 corners of the earth because Egyptians would run to the higher ground to get away from the flood. They have like half an hour to get away from it. And if America today is 30 million Muslims, tomorrow America is going to be 100 million Muslims. because there's going to be civil war in Turkey, there's going to be civil war in Iran, there's going to be this thing with Iran and Egypt. And Israel is not, I used to say Israel was a flower in the middle of the desert. Now Israel is a flower in the middle of a forest fire. But God has his hand on Israel. And the bottom line of what I'm doing now to create a Judeo-Christian party is because the Muslims are going to come to kill the Christians as well.
Yes.
So if you're a Jew married to a Christian, then you're going to have to flee with your spouse and your children to Israel. And I'm predicting that my political party, the Bible Bloc, will be the biggest party in the Knesset. Maybe I won't be alive. Maybe my wife will kill me before that. But if I'm still alive, maybe this party will receive 10 million members. And if Israel today is 6.5 million, guess what? Do the numbers.
You brought up a point that I think many Christians don't realize how many Christians are being killed right now around the world.
Yes, this is indeed a Holocaust, and the media doesn't want to touch it. No. The media doesn't touch it. A lot of churches also don't touch it. And, I don't want to, John McCain was a hero in his own right, but he has this thing about Soviets and about Russia, and so he's in favor of the Sunni Muslims, and they're the ones who are killing the Christians. And many churches, they don't touch this because it's too sensitive. America is owned by Sunni Saudi Arabia, and there are only 17 million people, but they control everything.
Financially,
yeah. So again, my job now is to create a rapprochement in Israel between the Jews and Christians, and same as much as I can in America, Canada, Europe. Jews and Christians have to get over 2,000 years of hatred.
Are we making progress?
I think we are.
That's certainly what ITBN's all about.
Right.
I mean, 100%.
Yeah. So the time has come to have a Judeo-Christian political party, Judeo-Christian Western Civilization and Democracy Party in Israel. And I'm glad that you've had me on your show so that we could do this together.
I am too. And if people haven't heard of you, they will now.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be very important that you pick up Avi's DVDs, his books, his son's DVDs on the land of Israel, these important historical archaeological sites.
My son's DVDs should be purchased from lipkintours.com.
Okay.
That they have their bookstore.
And then the other would be avilipkin.net.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Avi, it's always good to see you reunited with a dear friend.
Amen.
Keep up the good work. Keep broadcasting the news of what's really going on behind the scenes.
Amen.
People have got to wake up, Avi.
With your help, we'll do it. Yeah.
Well, with your help, we'll do it as well. Thank you so much for tuning in to ITBN on whatever platform you're on, cell phone, iPad, computer, smart TV, internet, whatever that is. Tell your friends, watch Avi's shows. Have your friends watch Avi shows, buy his materials, become educated on what's going on right now around the world. You'll be glad you did. You'll be informed. You'll be changed because of it. Avi, good to see you. Thank you for tuning in to the interview, and we will see you next week. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.